3, 2, 1. Okay, welcome back, everyone. As you can see, all the way from actually Johannesburg, South Africa, we have Ms. Natalie Joel joining us. Natalie, how are you doing out there today?
Right.
Did it break up?
Very well, thanks. And how are you?
Very good, thank you. And again, this is the first interview we're running from somebody all the way down in South Africa. That's amazing. So we're going to jump into that, Natalie, and we're going to jump into your journey of weight loss and also what you're doing with keto coaching. But first and foremost, we must thank someone out there who put us together, your nephew, who is also a client of mine, Mr. Josh, here in Atlanta, Georgia. So if Josh is watching, I wanted to say hello. And Natalie, he put us together, and if you wanted to say hi to him, you can go ahead and do so.
Hi, Josh.
He's watching. And Josh was so gracious because he really spoke highly of you. He said, I've got a perfect person for you to interview, and that's my Aunt Natalie. And he told me about your story, about the unbelievable weight loss, which we're going to jump into. And I guess that's kind of from here, I'll let you carry the story out, Natalie, because I wanted to first ask about that. You could tell everyone out there how much weight you lost, what happened, was there something that happened in your life kind of, around that time, and then just take us through, please.
Sure. How can I start? Okay, let's start when I was a teenager, when I started putting on the weight. Struggle, I went everywhere, couldn't lose the weight. Then, my first pregnancy, wow, did I put on the weight. And my cravings were impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And my morning sickness wasn't just morning, it was 24-hour sickness.
Oh, wow.
The only thing that seemed to help it was by eating. And then I'd bring it up. But anyway, so at the end of the pregnancy, people said, don't worry, Natalie, when your baby's born and you breastfeed, it will just fall off. Well, didn't fall off. It climbed up and went even worse.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So struggled to lose. I went to the various places, the normal standard American diet, didn't lose. This lost a little bit next pregnancy. Story repeated 5 times. I just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I thought, okay, well, no more children. I'm going to be able to lose the weight. Didn't happen. I lost a little bit and I struggled. So I thought, okay, I'll start exercising. So over the years, I went crazy. And at the end of all the struggling, before I went onto this way of eating, I was doing boxing a few times a week. I was swimming virtually every day. I was doing other contact cardio exercises. I was doing HIIT every day except once a week. I was not doing exercise, but 6 days a week I was going crazy. But I was still unfit. I was still battling. You know how embarrassing it is when you go somewhere and they say, have a seat. And you look at the seats and they're all plastic seats. And you think, oh no, I'll sit on those seats and I'll break it. Or they've got those arms and you think, I'm not going to fit into those arms. Or if you're flying somewhere and you get on the I've got to push myself right into the seats to try and get that safety belt up. And it got to a stage where I was now XXX large, terrified because the shops only went up to 4X large. Very few had 5X large. I thought, what am I going to do when I can't buy clothes anymore? And to go and have them made is not such fun. And I couldn't go to a shop and say, I want that dress because they'd say, we don't have your size. So anyway, what happened was I decided, okay, that's it. I'm going to the dietitian. I'm going to start losing the weight again. And that's crazy. You do the same thing over and over again, and you think you're so bad, you're so terrible, but it's the same diet they're giving you, and it's not working. So I was losing a bit, but then I noticed I was craving like you cannot believe chocolate. I'd come back from the store, and I'd have these chocolate wrappers on the seat next to me. And I thought, this is mad. I'm sabotaging myself. I'm battling to lose weight, but I can't conquer this craving. So what I'll get hypnotized against chocolate. And then I'll be able to lose the weight.
Wow.
So I told the children, I'm going to get hypnotized against chocolate, and then I'll be able to lose the weight. And one of my children says, you've got to be very careful. You can't just go to anyone who does hypnosis. You've got to be careful because it can be dangerous. And she recommended a psychologist that we knew who also did hypnosis. So I went to see the psychologist, and I told him my whole story. And he said, Natalie, I'm not going to hypnotize you. And I said, why not? He says, you're going to do banting. In South Africa, keto and low carb is called banting.
Banting. Okay.
Banting.
All
There's
right.
a whole story behind it, but it's called banting. So,
Oh.
but everybody in South Africa, that's how it was 5 years ago. Banting, you can't do banting. You don't know the long-term effects, blah, blah, blah. So I said to him, but what about the long-term effects? And he said to me, rubbish. It works. So I said, but I'm so scared. And they said I shouldn't do it. He says, try it for 6 weeks, see how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in the car, I phoned my husband. I said, Howard, the psychologist wouldn't hypnotize me. He said I should do banting. So he says, okay, I'll do it with you. And that was the start of our journey in the rest of our life. They say life's a journey, enjoy the ride. All of a sudden, I was now enjoying the ride. It was incredible. It is 180 degrees mindset change. Everything we're told is good for us was actually bad for us. And everything we're told is bad for us is actually good for us. So lo and behold, not only did we lose the weight, I lost 130 pounds, which is about 60 kilos. My husband lost about 80, 90 pounds, which is about 40 something kilos. His diabetes first. He was told he no longer has diabetes.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's incredible. That is incredible.
Absolutely.
I was on 2 blood pressure medicines. I'm no longer on blood pressure medicines.
Oh,
I was living on Nexium. I don't know if you have Nexium in America.
We do.
Yeah. I had very strong. I was taking 2 of those as well. Once I noticed, what am I taking this for anymore? I don't have reflux. I don't have GERD. I don't have uncomfortableness. I don't have bloating. So I stopped taking it. And that was it. So at my age, no medication, which is quite incredible. I'm 63.
Oh, that's incredible.
So then I started doing less exercise. What happened was I didn't realize that the exercise was pushing up my cortisol, which you are supposed to know all about it. My body shape was such that the exercise was actually making me gain the weight. I was doing too much exercise and I wasn't resting. So now, besides before lockdown, I started going to gym. I had a coach. I was exercising beautifully. I did boxing. I did martial arts type things. And I am fitter and healthier than I've ever been before. And that's my story.
That's amazing. Again, what a story. And I'm glad you incorporated your husband with it too. So, Natalie, let me ask you, going back to when that happened with the banting, that's a new word for me. I've not heard that, but that's interesting. How hesitant was your husband, or was he on board, or were you both struggling, or who kind of took the initiative and said, let's do this? Was it, I take it was you that pretty much...
Okay, so I'll go back to that point. About 3 years before that, my husband we got into our 50s, and I said we need to go every year to a checkup. Because when you get older, in your 50s, things start conking out, and you need to make sure that you're there in the beginning, that you can correct problems. And it was picked up that he had high sugar. So I said to the doctor, it's diabetes. They wouldn't say diabetes. They said high sugar. So they said, yeah. So because his mother had diabetes, so we'd been through the whole spiel. So he was already aware that he had an issue. And the trouble is that when we went to the doctor, I don't know what you do, but most doctors here say, I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Joel, you've got diabetes. It is a lifelong illness. It only gets worse. At the moment now, you only need 1 pill, but it's going to happen that you're going to need insulin. People go blind with it. They lose their legs. They get gangrene. I'm terribly sorry, but it's a progressive illness. And he said, I'm not accepting it. I'm going to kill it. And he started exercising as well. He started cycling and various things. So he was already on the way to start doing it. But nobody said to us, change your diet and your diabetes will reverse. Just said, unfortunately, it's a progressive illness. And most people don't know that you are what you eat.
Yeah, that's very true. You're right, Natalie. And, you mentioned, too, just a couple minutes ago about how the misconceptions growing up, what we were taught, might not have been 100% accurate. And you're right. Like, sometimes you hear things that are good for us that are actually bad, and then vice versa. But what are some of the things that you found enlightening, like specifically that you thought, I thought this was bad, but this is actually good for us? And just kind of breaking that down in terms of nutrition and, what we're eating and putting in our body.
Okay, for an example, margarine. So in the 70s, we were told you can't have butter, you can't have animal fat, it's bad for you, you've got to have margarine. So everybody started having margarine. But the seed oils, the vegetable oils are so highly processed, and the seeds are so genetically modified that they actually cause inflammation in our bodies. So those oils and fats are very bad for us. So you start eating butter, you start eating, a lot of people have bacon. I don't eat bacon, but other people do. Animal fat, lard, chicken fat, all those type of things are so good for us. Coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, those are very healthy fats. But we are taught you can't have fats and you've got to have low fat. But the problem is people don't realize that the lower the fat in the food, the higher the sugar and the chemicals, because what gives food flavor is the fat.
Right.
So you take out the fat, what are you left with? Tasteless. So you've got to put sugar in, and you've got to put in chemicals or sometimes to give it a flavor so that people will eat it. And also, I never heard of the word insulin before. I always thought insulin was a thing for diabetics. We had to inject it when their diabetes got bad. But insulin's our major hormone in our body. And with the standard American diet, with the eating all the time and everything, the processed foods and the sugars, our insulin levels are so out of whack that all our autoimmune illnesses that 100 years ago, they never heard of these things. Every second person has got an autoimmune illness nowadays. And that's, as I go back to, is what we eat. And that's the problem.
Very true. And, you're right with the more that you take out of a substance and you fill it in with something that's synthetic or maybe a filler or, like you use the word processed, that's, I think, a big problem. At least here where I'm at in America, we have the big problem of fast foods and processed foods and such. How is it where you're at in terms of, is it the same, really? Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, and I think that's important, like you said, just it seems like the keto diet is more of a natural, not having it man-made and, again, the word process, whereas if you have something that's fresh and just natural, I think that's pretty important, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you can process it yourself.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And some of the things you were listing off with avocado oil and coconut oil, a lot of people don't understand, like you said, they're essential fatty acids that if they don't have enough of, there is such a thing as if you're not getting enough fat in the diet, then that's where, again, it can lead to things like higher sugar intake or problems because, again, people might be eating too much carbs. And I find that that's probably another area. Was that something as well, too, Natalie, with the as far as carbohydrates go with intake? How does that go in terms of, it's the same here, too. So. So that's great that you've identified it and you've nailed it. So jumping into your success, 130 pounds is a very significant. Same thing with your husband with 80 to 90 pounds as well. Again, that's just tremendous. How did that feel when eventually, let's say you hit the milestone of losing? I have trouble with the kilogram, but let's say you hit 50 kilograms that you lost.
The kilograms, obvious.
Yeah. How did that feel like when you hit those milestones? And your husband too.
It becomes 50 kilograms weight. Sorry. Oh, how did I get those milestones? Well, now I'm at the weight that I was when I was my first pregnancy. So that's over 40 years ago.
Right.
So it's very exciting. What is so exciting is going somewhere which you haven't seen people for a while, and you greet them and they look at you like, who are you to greet me? And then they double take, Natalie, I don't recognize you.
That's funny. Oh, I'm sure you're used to that a lot.
Yeah, because this way of eating, we don't realize that the processed foods and the high carbohydrates that we eat makes us very bloated. Every second person, I used to, about other people, we all look 6 months, 7 months pregnant. We've all got these tummies, and it's from the food we're eating, and it bloats us, and it fills us with excess stuff we don't want there. So when you change to cutting out all those foods from our diet, the stomach goes, the face goes from this to, I didn't realize I had a longer face. I always thought I had a moon face. Various things. I was once at a hairdresser, and the hairdresser said to me, Natalie, I've never seen someone with such a narrow forehead. And I thought, it's not a nice thing, just about a bit of a hurtful thing. But because my face was so round, made it look in proportion to everything else. But now nobody says to me, you've got such a narrow, no. So it's just things that it's just looking normal again, which is so fantastic. Just blending in with the crowd, having a photograph. You don't say, I'll take the pictures or I'll stand at the back. You don't mind because you're blending in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a normal body shape, which is, I haven't had it for over 40 years. It's so exciting. Even now, it's still exciting. I've gone from, as I mentioned, a 4X large to a medium. And I can walk into a store and I say, it happened recently, I want that dress in the mirror, in the window. And she said, sure. And she got it out and I was able to buy it. And it was something I haven't done for decades.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's little things like getting on a plane and not worrying about the safety belt because you're going to fit it in. Going somewhere and you're not feeling that the person next to you is going to say, move over, you're taking over the whole bench, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's tremendous.
So
and again, congratulations, that significant weight loss, both you and your husband, that's amazing. And
Yes.
kind of, you mentioned just now about the whole, using those examples of seat belts and finding a seat and self-conscious. Let's switch gears and kind of now talk about how you're helping others because, what's it like when you see someone who used to be in the position that you're in, for example, that you're out and you see someone who is, I guess, having trouble finding a seat or, and you can relate to them because you used to be there. How did that all happen with being able to reach out to others and help?
Well, you can't go up to somebody and say, I used to be like you, because people will feel hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw how I was suddenly shrinking and changing shape, I thought most people don't know about this way of eating.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to become a coach so that I can have the tools to learn how to help people become like me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible when people say that they don't have their diabetes anymore. I'm not a doctor. I'm not in the medical field. If you have any medical issues, you do need to go and talk to your doctor. But I'm just saying from what I've seen from my clients and my own family that doing this way of life does definitely help. Never mind the losing weight, but on the gaining of the health.
Mm-hmm.
So it's incredible. A client was telling me yesterday that he's got diabetes and he was on 60 units of insulin and he's now on no insulin. And he had an HbA1c, which is checking your blood readings for the last 3 months to see. And he's no longer regarded as diabetic. His blood readings are now pre-diabetic.
Wow.
So it's incredible. And it's amazing. I just love hearing these stories. And the people try it and they see the success and it motivates you and it gives you self-confidence back. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's just fascinating with how, just happy that makes you just being able to use yourself as a personal testimonial. I personally believe the best coaches are the ones who can really relate to their clients from going through what they're going through. So, having said that, Natalie, as yourself, you used to, have those struggles and you had such success. What's your methodology with helping others? Because there's a lot of psychology there with it. When you first meet people that you work with, are they resistant to change and they're kind of maybe fearful or hesitant, or how is it usually when you meet people?
Sometimes they are resistant, and unfortunately, if a person's resistant to change, I read somewhere, I heard somewhere, I don't know who said it. They said, there's a saying, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And both are right, because it's all in the mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you have decided in your mind, I'll never be able to do this, then you're going to sabotage yourself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think I can do this, then you will try as much as you can to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the bottom line. Your mindset has to be there. And you can't say my son, daughter, husband, father, mother, whatever, they've got to lose the weight. It has to come from yourself. Because if you don't do it yourself, it won't work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I mean, it's definitely behavior modification, and it's really being able to give, your clients the tools so that they can empower themselves and change themselves. And we've heard also that it could take up to usually 30 days to form a habit to where, you really have almost mastered that habit and becoming everyday things. So what are some of the major components when you're working as a coach with your clients? What do you have them focus on? Take us through kind of, I guess, maybe a kind of a guiding way of how you're able to help them out and tell them, this is what I want you to focus on. This is your homework. Work on this. What are some of the key components to success for them?
Well, I first go through with them a little bit of a history because everybody's different and everybody's coming from a different space. So you need to know where they're coming from to know where we can go to. So hearing their stories, whatever it is, we go from there. And some of them have got major health issues, which they have to sort out with their doctors and get permission that they can do this. Others come along and they're prepared to do it. So I explain to them exactly what keto is, because a lot of people think banting, as I said, South African word, with keto. Banting incorporates keto, low carb, and it's basically that. So you've got to realize that you can't do the standard American diet and the low carb way of eating, because our bodies are basically sugar engines. It's like running a car on gas and running a car on diesel. So you put the gas in the car, it's quiet, it's smooth, you don't hear it coming. You've got a car with diesel, you can hear it 2 blocks away driving along. But the gas car goes through that gas within a week. You have to refill. The diesel car, you can keep it going 2 or 3 weeks. And it's the same thing. Our bodies are naturally a gas run body. So it takes the sugar, it energizes it, and boom, we're hungry again 10 minutes later, half an hour later. So it's the first choice for the body to use is the sugar in the body. So when we change to eating the fat and you're having the sugar at the same time, the body's going to park the fat and use the sugar. So you can't have your delicious donut with a slab of butter. You've got to have the slab of, not the slab, but you know what I'm saying, without the donut. Or you've got to have a keto. So you have to realize from the onset that it's an either or. You've got to decide what you want to do. And with some people, it's like giving up smoking. Some people can say, that's it, my last cigarette, I'm never smoking again. And other people say, no, I'm going from 50 a day to 30 to 10 and so on. So it's the same thing. Some people need to wean themselves off, you can say, the sugar and the carbs. And everything's right. You know, we're all different. We're not robots. Everybody has to do it their way. So some people have to tone down slowly the sugar and the processed foods. Some people can take a month before they're off it. Some people can take 2 months. A lot of people start, okay, that's it. Tomorrow I'm starting. That's how we work, and I tell them what to eat and what not to eat, and portions and all those type of things.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Then we go through what's happened.
Oh, that's great. And how about, Natalie, with you mentioned about the whole trigger for you originally was chocolate. How are you doing with that, and how is keto in relation to chocolate with banting and keto, so to speak?
So amazing. Since I changed my diet, I don't like to call it a diet, it's a way of eating. It's a way of life for me. Since I cut out the sugar and the carbohydrates, I lost my cravings. Because a lot of the cravings are because you're lacking nutrients. So I eat the food that have got all the nutrients in them. So I haven't had chocolate now. In the first couple of months, I'll be quite straight. I did break down and have a bit of candy and a bit of chocolate. After those first few months, I haven't craved them. I can go to a function. The first thing I used to do was look at the dessert table, think, look at all the yummy stuff. Doesn't even tempt me now. I stand in the queue to pay at the till. I don't know about America, but here all the tills are lined. To stand in the queue, the line on each side, there are rows and rows of chocolates and candy bars and all. I just look at them. They don't call me anymore. So my addiction, it's actually a sugar addiction. My addiction has gone. And my husband too. We don't crave it anymore. It's actually amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow. And, working with some of your clients too, Natalie, I know that you mentioned the accountability is pretty, important because meeting with them like once a week and such. What are some of the things, that you could relate to your clients with accountability and commitment? How important is that they be honest and straight with you when they're checking in with you on their own, logging and diaries and such?
Okay, well, as I said earlier, we're all different. We're all unique in our own ways. So there's no judgment. There's no, I'm better than you. How can you do this? It's very important to be honest, because often you might come along and say, I had this terrible pain in my right shoulder. I don't know what it's from. And if they're not honest, I'll say, have you eaten anything? No. I was 100%. But if they're not honest, if they are honest, and I'll say, okay, look at my diary. On Tuesday afternoon, I had XYZ. And you say, okay, that was your trigger that caused the right shoulder pain, or the headache, or the migraine, or whatever it was. So you know that is causing you issues, and they say, okay, great, then I'm going to try and keep away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Or they might come along and say, for the first time, I had a fantastic sleep. I don't know why. So we'll say, what did you eat? And we can go through what they ate and their stress levels, because stress is also very important, and sleeping, the whole thing. It's not just eating; it's a whole body situation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you did this, that, and that in those couple of days beforehand. That's why you're now able to sleep better. So it's a holistic thing. It's not a guilt trip, because we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all give in to various things, and we have to learn how to get over it and move on. And that's how it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Good. Again, great way of doing it. And what are some of the other goals you have, Natalie, with working, continuing on and helping people? How do you foresee the next, I guess, year, 2, 5-year plan for yourself? What's your forecast for, this? I know you said it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. So obviously it's a permanent solution.
Well, to continue in this way, learning as much as I can. I love, my mind is blown, but there's such a world out there of things that we didn't know about, that we haven't been told about. So
yes,
I've got the most incredible coaches and gurus, I call them, and I read their books and their courses and do things, and it's incredible what there is to learn. And the more you learn, the more you can understand what we're doing. I'm also started a life coach course, because I think that's also linked to this, and I should finish that. I don't know how long it'll take, a year or whatever, and link that to this, to be able to more holistically help the people. I have started a website, and I want to put on things on there, and also to eventually have people be able to buy the program. They might not have the time to meet all the time, but to buy the weight loss program that I use and do that, which is in the future, which will be that.
Good for you, Natalie. The life coaching definitely ties in hand with that. And so having that under your belt on your profile, that's just going to be, again, wonderful opportunities for you to help other people that need your help. And, again, with this whole pandemic, and we know that things like you and I are doing right now with Skype or Zoom and such, that's so invaluable, because your touch to everyone pretty much can go worldwide, right? I mean, you could pretty much... Yeah, people where I'm at here in America too. So that's so wonderful. And Natalie, this 30 minutes just flew by so fast. I promise I'm looking at the time real closely and make sure I have you out of here in time. But before we let you go, if you don't mind, I could just ask a couple more questions. Specifically, you mentioned you have a website. So if you don't mind, can we go ahead and please let's promote your website, your contact information, your social media, anything that you want to get out there for people if they want to directly contact you and learn more about, or maybe even work with you too, please.
Okay, well, I'm on Facebook, Living Keto with Nat, and my website, which I'm just busy finishing building, is livinglifewithnat.com. I have Twitter at Natalie Joel, which they can always private message me on there, and they can private message me on Facebook as well.
Great. Okay, terrific. Well, again, Natalie, I'm super impressed, and this is just amazing, your story. I feel like we've only scratched the surface, because this is the first time you and I have chatted, but again, that half hour flew by so fast. Love to have you come back on here again in the future. Yeah, let's do this again, and next time we could bring your husband Howard on here too, and he can give his own personal testimony. It's just you're changing lives, and I commend you for being able to do that. And again, congratulations on that weight loss together.
You.
That's amazing. That is just
Thank
awesome. You. Yeah, but thank you, Natalie, for your time coming out here, and this is so much fun. And as we fade to black now, we will say goodbye to you, and we're going to have your contact information you just provided us up on the screen right now. And Natalie, take care out there in Johannesburg.
Thank you. And in Atlanta too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Perfect. All right, right under it. Can you believe that? It was 30 minutes. So I'm going to cut it there. And that flew by really fast. That was just really, really quick. So I've got like 1 minute after 12 your time. I want to make sure you had enough time to get out and go. But what I'll do is I'll work on editing it. And you're very well spoken, Natalie. I mean, again,
thank you.
I love interviewing people like you who just have the conversation flow openly and being able to use such great stories and illustrations, because it really helps a lot. So what I'll do too is I'll incorporate the pictures you sent me and kind of use them as slide overs while you and I are talking in some of the parts. And then at the end, what it'll look like, it'll have a screenshot. It'll have your website and your social media up there, so they can go to that as well. So, but yeah, seriously, let's do this again. Usually, I like to have guests on every month if it fits your schedule, and we can just check in and see what's new and how it's going. I think the next time you and I talk, maybe we could talk about the pandemic and how that's affected people, maybe psychologically, and how that is, because I know with what I do with personal training, it's definitely been pretty significant here. But it'd be cool to get a perspective of, your world and again, out there in Johannesburg as well, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I've just got to start a YouTube channel. I'd love to be able to post this on our YouTube if that's all right with you.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Yeah. What I'll do is I can send you the link after this is finished publishing. I will directly send you the link so you can publish it on yours as well. That'd be
Okay,
great.
then I'll put it on Facebook and advertise you as well. Who knows? You might get some clients.
That's the great
From
thing
this
about,
too.
yeah, cross-promoting, cross-pollination. That's how this whole thing works. Absolutely. I mean, that's the great thing about it. So, but yeah, so again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful lunch with your husband. And again, I appreciate your flexibility. This worked out great. I'm so happy we were able to record this. And I'll reach out to you next month to see what your schedule's like, and we can do this again then.
Wonderful. Look forward.
Thank you, Natalie. And I'll say hi to
Thank
Josh
you.
for you, too.
Thank you.
Will
All
do.
the best.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
You too. Bye-bye.